Thank you, Alison, for that acknowledgement of country to begin the session. It's obviously very important to acknowledge the Gumbaynggirr Nation as the traditional owners and carers of the land. So I would also like to pay my respects to Aboriginal Australians past, present, and in the audience today. I also want to recognise the Bidjigal people. They're the traditional owners of the land UNSW is on, which is where the majority of this research was conducted. Also, if I can invite you all to do something which I've been finding myself doing fairly often in this role, which is just reflecting on our own relationship with country and think about whether our actions are reflective of our values that we have as well. And perhaps how we might learn from Aboriginal Australians and how they cared for country and how we can better care for country. So my contribution to this session will maybe be a bit different to the other sessions today. I want to share my brief career experience in the world of waste, hopefully offer some value regarding how we can actually shift our perspective of waste to see it as a resource, but also to be here to learn, to be in front of the right people as we express our desire to have further collaboration with Indigenous communities that are trying to tackle their own waste challenges. So if you see an opportunity for collaboration or something in this presentation inspires you, please reach out afterwards. So I'm a microfactory engineer, and I can tell you exactly what that means in a second, but I work at the Centre for Sustainable Materials Research and Technology, or the SMART Centre. For those that don't know, that was founded by Veena Sahajwala at AO, and we take on the challenge of finding new uses for materials that would otherwise be headed to landfill or considered waste. And we like to see it as a resource, and this includes things such as tyres, mattresses, e-waste, and we're even investigating at the moment things like batteries, chip packets, coffee grounds, things like that. So yeah, and that's at UNSW, which is also host to the Sustainable Communities and Waste Hub, or the SCORE Hub. I'm sure you guys are all aware there's a lot of acronyms in this industry, so I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But this is a program from the National Environmental Science Program. Through these hubs, they try to establish relationships and partnerships with scientific institutions, with traditional owners. Nathan, as you were talking about, it's important to get out there and not make assumptions from the office, but also to gather knowledge which we can't gather from the lab, but actually embed ourselves with these communities. And I've been primarily involved in the plastic and waste materials stream. So we had a session earlier on circular economy, so I won't spend too long here. But essentially it is a new term to describe systems where waste is eliminated or designed out of the system entirely. So we go from a take, make, waste, or a linear system to one where products are held at the highest possible value for as long as possible. And when they no longer can deliver that use, there is consideration for what happens next for that product beyond being put in a hole in the ground or ending in our oceans or ending in our air via incineration. So there are many different definitions or criteria for what a circular economy is. But as Nathan alluded to, it's actually an old concept. And when you communicate, or when I've been out to these communities in regional New South Wales, they actually take a lot of pride in saying these are things we've been doing for a long time. Whether it's putting scraps in the garden or cleaning out bottles for reuse, these aren't new concepts of making the most out of our resources. And especially when we look at the practices of traditional owners, we can definitely have a lot to learn of the old practices when we bring up these new terminologies such as circular economy. So while it might not be a new concept, challenges arise when we, that's okay, that's fine. Challenges arise when we introduce new materials into this stream, whether that's plastics or e-waste or multi-layered components. And new challenges arise as well with just the sheer scale of waste, which we haven't seen before. So that's when things that we've been doing in the past may not be able to cope with this. So here are some stats of where we currently are at. You can probably see that is the graphic work of a scientist, so I apologize, it's a bit dry there. But since the China sword policy, Australia has recognised a great value in adopting, and indeed a great need to adopt more circular practices. And it is also the global consensus that the way we're currently using our finite resources is not sustainable. So what can we do? Recently, just last year, Australia released a circular economy framework, and there was also a whole set of standards for, ISO standards that is, for circular economy. If I can just get a show of hands for who has heard of or even consulted these standards. Yeah, that's great. So obviously there's some uptake there, but something I've gained from communicating with some of these communities is that while they can be helpful in guiding some practices, what they really portray is like an ideal outcome. But when it comes to making those first steps, especially in non-metropolitan areas, they aren't always the most helpful, and they really don't fulfill their circumstances. So this is where hopefully we can try and come in. We research applications of incorporating waste streams into value-adding opportunities. And also being at the university, we have a unique position of being able to collaborate with industry, government, and other academic institutions in creating these technologies and getting them out of the lab into a market. And from what we've seen from our technologies that have been commercialized, it is those partnerships which are very crucial. So we do these through our MICROfactorie technologies. So a MICROfactorie is designed to be discrete and modular and placed as close to on-site or as close to the waste source as possible to not only just develop that into a material that can be recovered, but actually a product that can provide value to that community. And so I'll play a short video from one of our recently launched MICROfactories.
Our technology allows us to convert e-waste plastic into remanufactured 3D printer filament, and it's the only one in the world.
We're here at Renew IT's site, and this is indeed the first filament microfactory that we've done out of UNSW that makes plastic filaments from all the plastics that comes out of hardware in the IT world.
So when companies and schools and universities are refreshing their fleet of laptops or technology in data centers, they'll engage in organisations such as us to go in there and collect that old equipment and then on-sell those devices. But as you can imagine, a lot of those devices can't be on-sold. They're either too old or they're broken, and it becomes a waste problem.
So when that first bit of waste arrives at Renew IT's filament microfactory, they disassemble it utilizing UNSW IP to know which are the right plastics to go after, to be able to then feed that into this filament microfactory. So that plastic gets thermally transformed through controlled heat and cooling, and it's finally spooled and can get fed into a 3D printer at the end of the process to be 3D printed into anything that you'd imagine.
We're talking about zero waste here. This really is a horizontal solution that touches every industry that you can think of.
It's so important to show that we can achieve a win-win outcome for our environment, for our economy, and for humanity.
Yeah, so something that is worth noting as well is that when those products do reach the end of the life, they're designed to be reshredded and go back into that circular loop. So that's another important aspect to consider, is this a closed loop solution? Another thing that wasn't brought up in that video, but is also extremely important, is the reason we make filament. Plastic flake per kilo, depending on what it is, goes for roughly $1 a kilo. But a kilo of this 3D printer filament can fetch over $30 a kilo. So it's an opportunity not just to divert from landfill, but also create value that will remain within that community. And as you saw in the video, it takes a relatively small footprint as well. Another microfactory we have is down in Shoalhaven City Council. That's the green ceramic microfactory, which takes crushed, washed glass and combines it with waste textile into a green ceramic product. We also have a video for that, but I won't play that one. But if you're interested, you can follow the link here if the slides are available after. Otherwise, it's just the Smart Centre website. And this is what it makes. It's an Australian-made product that is crystalline silica free. So that is the reason why engineered stone was banned, due to its association with silicosis. And it's an example of a totally circular solution as well, in that it takes partnerships and different organisations all the way from the collection stage to the processing stage, and then partnering with a business that then distributes and markets that. And once again, once those tiles reach the end of their life, they can be returned back into a new process. So these are some of the case studies that we've worked on. Some members of our team were also fortunate enough to join the Rubbish on the Shore think tank. This was in Gakula, Northern Territory, with the Gumtaj clan, where we got to learn about the impacts of marine waste and ghost nets. The outcome of this was that we were able to release a report on the properties of these materials, the composition, and even demonstrated a pilot process similar to the green ceramics, where the ghost nets were combined with waste sawdust and other waste products to create a polymer tile. But of course, something we've learned here through this process, it is the end market that can ultimately justify the need for such programs. I also want to showcase that they were able to make waste as well that made it into the Australian Museum in the form of art. So they not only demonstrated potential in creating a functional material, but also an artistic material that can really even be more important in gathering community engagement. So that comes in, that leads into the Sustainable Communities and Waste Hub and what I'm doing. We have a range of projects happening, and we've collaborated as well with an organisation that is involved in cultural burning, and that's burning not just for hazard reduction, but also for the maintenance of sacred sites and pathways, and looking into how those products, with incorporating their knowledge of fire retardants and termite resistance into new construction materials. We've also done work regarding microplastics and the impact that that can have on the environment, regarding its sources, the pathways and the sinks, and the impact that can have on human health. Personally, I've been involved in a program that is responsible for funding fit-for-purpose recycling technologies, specifically for regional and remote communities. In doing this, I've been out to various councils and businesses in regional New South Wales, and we co-designed a sort of framework where we can establish different roles within the circular supply chain to not only allow for those early transition steps to a more circular economy, but also highlight the importance of different partnerships, whether it's one council focuses on a material supply chain, where another, such as paper and cardboard, whereas another focuses on organics, but also to demonstrate further downstream opportunities where we don't just process this waste, but we actually recycle and remanufacture that into new products. And so that's what we came up with there. This is still a work in process, but essentially we've done work to harmonise this with the ISO standards and the language that they use. And really, even though it doesn't capture the more upstream aspects of a circular economy, for communities that perhaps don't have that leverage to engage in those things, such as demanding more circular procurement or designing for circular economy, they can at least close the loop on their resources and retain the value from that. So I wrote this into a report using that framework as the different steps to categorize these technologies, and to showcase not just current technology that is being used, but emerging technology, which is 3, 4, 5 years down the line, which if a council is looking to establish a model for circularising, they can look further down the line and use those technologies as well. A council that's been really good at this, of course, is Shoalhaven City Council. I've got a bit of airtime this week, so I'll go quickly through this. But they've been great in doing that, which actually rethinking their collection process and how that will affect the downstream consequences at their recycling plant, and whether they send that to other recyclers or whether they're able to put that into new products in-house. Another thing, after speaking to Peter Windley as well, when talking about these projects, is when he brought up the cost of it, he brought up that solutions such as the polystyrene recycling, not only can he create value from that, but he also diverts that from landfill, which is subsidising the projects. So this isn't something that is available to all councils, but by extending that landfill life, that is, the cost from that is able to subsidise the new projects. Landfill is rapidly running out of space, and even for remote communities, practices such as incineration and dumping are leading to pollutants entering our environment. So it is really important that when we consider our material recovery processes, that we recover what happens past just the material recovery facility. Another good example is Forbes Shire Council and the work that they're doing with organics recovery, turning that into a compost, as well as products that use that compost in new pellets that can go into gardens depending on their needs. Right, so I've written that report, and it's got lots of technology in it and lots of information, but it's not exactly accessible to the people that need it. And what the department has identified is a need to take this resource and expand upon it into something that is more usable, more interactive, and is something that can actually achieve impact. And so what we're planning to do in the future is create an online tool that has the potential to simplify this process of finding fit-for-purpose technology that's out there, empower those communities to make the decisions for themselves depending on what conditions and what requirements they have, as opposed to us sitting in a lab and making recommendations. And what we've also learned is the importance of sharing case studies. So not just saying this is a technology that's out there, but showing this is how it's been implemented and this is what they've learned from it. So we also, learning from that, we want to perhaps use this as a platform for knowledge sharing, where organisations can share their successful case studies, what they've learnt from that, and then also promote themselves as saying, hey, we have this capacity to process this material, please get involved, or if you have that material, thank you, if you have that material, yeah, we are able to process that, and then perhaps someone else can fulfil another role. I'll move on more quickly. But yeah, so this is still in the planning stages, and we've been inspired by other resources that are already out there, and how can we build upon some things that already exist. But please, if this is something that you think would be valuable, we are still in the process of designing the user requirements and finding how much resources that we can really put to this. So that is something that we do fortunately have as being part of the National Environmental Science Program, is perhaps we can provide resources to organisations that are trying to develop something like this, but maybe don't have the resources themselves. And lastly, to include some other tools such as a funding dashboard that we've developed, which can show opportunities for future funding. So yeah, thank you. I just want to reiterate that primarily resources, we are looking for value-adding opportunities for councils and businesses. But to prove that this is something that we can implement, we need to hear from you guys and from the users, which is why I'm here today. So please reach out, get in touch, and hopefully this becomes a tool that you'll find yourself using in the future. Thank you.